I'm Michael with Writer Sanctuary, and today we're looking at 7 reasons to use Textbroker as a beginner freelance writer. If you don't know, Textbroker is considered a content mill. What this means is that clients will submit orders for writers to pick up and do, and it's just nothing but churning out order after order. And if you're fast enough, you can make quite a bit of money. In fact, for 4 years I made Textbroker my career. I was bringing in between $400 and $500 a week. Well, then in 2017 I started picking up my own private clients, and I make far more money on that. But although I don't use Textbroker nearly as often as I used to, it's still a good system to go back to if I need to pad my weekly paycheck. After all, most of my retained clients pay me on a bi-weekly basis, where Textbroker I can get paid every Friday. So it's a good system to use if you want to break up the week. And I apologize if you can hear the commotion going on outside, but my neighbors are renovating everything. Now, a lot of freelance writers don't like content mills like Textbroker. This is usually because you only make maybe 1.4 cents a word, depending on your level, and a lot of people don't think that their time is worth it. When I first started freelance writing, I was making between $17 and $25 an hour. Of course, this also depended on the workload and the client and the team that I belonged to. Anyway, here are the reasons why I think you should use Textbroker as a beginning freelance writer. Number 1, it's really super easy to sign up with. After I submitted my first post, the editors sent it back and I was able to write my 3 introductory posts. And usually it takes between 5 and 7 days for them to edit the 3 introductories, but in my case it was less than 5, I remember that. At which point I was able to write as much as I want. I didn't have to fill out any application forms, I didn't have to break down my experience. It was just really simple to sign up with and use. For instance, I can look at any point at the open pool and see what orders are available. I click into it, grab an order, start writing. With Textbroker, you don't have to worry about clients coming to you to give you work. That's one of the things I like most about it, I think. The drawback to that is then you have to wait for clients to actually post work up on Textbroker. Luckily today, it's far more busy of a site than it was about 4 or 5 years ago. And that brings us to the second reason why you should use Textbroker, is because it's constantly growing. Now, back when I started, it was common for all of the levels to be without work for several days at a time. But as the system progressed, so did their client base. Now anytime I want to jump on the system and make a few bucks, there's always work available. And that's not even including the teams that I belong to. Like right now I can log in and have over 1,200 orders ready to go from all the different teams that I belong to. And most of them are really easy to do. Third reason why you should consider Textbroker is because it's a weekly payout. Now, unlike Writer Access, where you have to wait till the next month, or Fiverr, where it takes up to 2 weeks to get paid, Textbroker runs on a Friday to Thursday schedule, which means anything you make within those days will get paid on the next Friday. That's if the client decides to accept it. But luckily, Textbroker has a built-in system where the client has 4 days to accept an order, otherwise it auto-accepts it and throws it into your pool. So if you do work on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're almost guaranteed to have a payout on that Friday. That is, unless the client logs in and sends a revision request and takes up more of your time. But in reality, in my situation, it was nice to have that Friday payout. Another thing that drives me to Textbroker is the author-friendly atmosphere that is in the system. Out of all the other systems I've used, I think Textbroker is probably one of the more secure, especially from an author's perspective. It's far less likely to get scammed on Textbroker as it is on something like freelancer.com. For one thing, when a client submits an order, they have to put money into an escrow account. Then when an author finishes the order, the money's pulled from that escrow. Now there'll be times where scammers will try to rip you off. So I think in the past 6 years I've faced maybe about 2 or 3 at the most out of the 5,583 orders that I've completed. But if you're paying attention to the revision requests and how the client interacts with you, it's pretty easy to find out who's trying to scam you. Textbroker just has a really good system for protecting its authors. And if you feel that someone is plagiarizing your content and still posting something they didn't pay for, you can always contact the managers and then they will seek out the client. The 5th reason why you should consider Textbroker is because there's more than just one way to pay. Let's say that you're a level 3 writer for Textbroker. In the open pool, you're only going to get 1 cent a word. Now that doesn't really sound like a lot unless you can crack them out pretty fast. But you have direct orders that you control how much the client pays. Now of course you want to be careful and not set it too high, otherwise clients won't use you. But it's a really good way to add a little bit more to your payout. If you match your price to your experience, a lot of clients will wind up paying quite a bit more. Like I said in a previous video, one client I was charging more than 5 cents a word and they thought that was cheap. In 20 minutes I could make 30 bucks easily. And the 6th reason, probably one of the most important, is that Textbroker gives you experience. That's one of the biggest things that a lot of haters kind of gloss over. As a beginning freelance writer, you're not going to step out onto the market and start making a ton of money. A lot of clients want to see experience. They want to know that you're able to handle the job. When I first started writing for Textbroker, I went to college for graphic design, and this is way outside of my training. However, I've always been interested in writing. I come from a family of authors. My mother and my sister have their first books already published, and I'm kind of slacking. The point is that Textbroker gives you experience for writing AP style, and it gives you experience on how to interact with clients. In fact, if it wasn't for Textbroker, I wouldn't be the success I am today. And the seventh reason that you should consider Textbroker is because there's less of a requirement to market yourself. Now, you do want to have a strong profile because that's how Textbroker clients find you. But as a private freelance writer, there's a lot of cold emails, there's a lot of direct contact with clients. Essentially, you have to advertise yourself as a writer. And it can be quite a bit of work, which isn't a bad thing because that's how I collected my most lucrative client to date. But if you want something that's easy, laid back, and part-time, and just want to be able to pad the paycheck a bit, Textbroker is ideal. And don't get me wrong, there's people out there that make tons of money on Textbroker. I was one. Remember, for 4 years, it was my career. I not only brought in enough money to pay the bills, but I also had enough money to put a little bit aside here and there and pay for Christmas and birthday presents and everything else that money is used for. So it's definitely more than just beer money. That just depends on how much you push it. With Textbroker, you just pick up the work and go. You don't need to worry about interacting with clients directly at first. I do suggest that you send a follow-up message to the client after every order that you write. Sometimes clients appreciate this effort and will wind up sending you work directly. At that point, you'll probably make double what you were making before. Now, is Textbroker the end-all be-all for freelance writing? Absolutely not. It's a great system to get started with, but you definitely want to put yourself out there. Like I said, the client that I have now pays far more than what I can make on Textbroker. I also use Textbroker to pad my PayPal account every week. But you definitely want to put effort into finding your own private clients. So let me ask you this, have you used Textbroker before? And if you have, do you hate it or do you love it? Leave in the comments down below. That's going to do it for me today, and if you found the video informative, please hit the like button, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Now have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week.